The stories we tell, the way we tell, how things happen, make the world as we know it. In our modern story of how things happen, of dynamical activity, events occur as predictably proportional changes. One event determines the next event in distinguishable sequences of actions and reactions. We know this is true because, by measuring and calculating the forces involved, we can predict what will happen next. This knowledge is the basis for our ability to manipulate and control events through our technological powers. It has made us humans the dominant animal on the planet. Our understanding of predictable events and its practical uses necessarily leads us to perceive the world in mechanical terms, as a vast domain of machinery in which all actions are dependently determined by preceding actions in consistent ways, referred to as linear dynamics. Thus, our dynamical worldview has become reflexively mechanistic. However, the same source of this mechanistic worldview, scientific method, and the factual knowledge it generates, has also revealed a very different way that things happen. Nature, we now know, creates most of its order through interdependent interactions that simultaneously feed back into each other, producing not only the consistency of linear dynamics, but also the inconsistency of non-linear dynamics. This interactive way that things happen is unpredictably deterministic. It is often not possible to calculate what these types of dynamics will generate from one moment to the next. Through interdependent interaction, separate actions quickly become mutually modifying, fusing together into unpredictably creative collective action. Mechanically predictable actions become entangled, creating patterns of recursive interactivity which can produce networks of unpredictably creative relationships. Most astonishingly, this interdependent way that things happen can generate self-organizing systems. By interacting with their environments, these complex dynamical systems, from cells to cities, create, regulate, and adapt themselves in unpredictably willful ways. The ordering of the world, it turns out, is continually emerging from this recursive interaction in ways that cannot be fully described or explained in mechanical terms, ways that we cannot possibly control. This is, indeed, how our own brains operate, as vast networks of simultaneously interacting impulses, from which emerge our consciousness and intentional behavior. But we continue to think of ourselves as machines. Our mechanistic worldview not only makes us ignorant of how our own minds and societies operate, but also of how nature creates and maintains the ordering operations of life on Earth through recursive interactivity. This ignorance has led us to create ecological devastation and catastrophic climate change by disrupting the self-organizing systems of the biosphere. Thus, to think ourselves and the world more realistically, so that we can sustain the natural systems upon which we depend, we must begin to tell a story of how things happen that is both linear and nonlinear, dependently predictable and interdependently unpredictable, potentially controllable and inherently uncontrollable, even autonomously intentional. Our next worldview must be bi-dynamical. bi-dynamical. Such a worldview does have precedence. The science of complex dynamical systems reveals how ancient cultures used symbols to represent nonlinear, self-organizing interactivity. These symbols are the archaic version of complex dynamical systems science. Using this science, we must now generate a similar way for telling the tale of how the world actually works. We must learn to think in terms of constellated dynamical networks, and how these are the unpredictable, often intentional sources of most of the order in and around us.